Hello and welcome to Wrestling Trope Alert, the channel where we analyze professional wrestling. If this is your first time here, help the channel by clicking the subscribe button and don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Today we are going to talk about CM Punk's debut for All Elite Wrestling. CM Punk is one of the greatest stars of the last 25 years. In the barren wasteland that was the WWE for creating new stars that could draw and transcend the wrestling business into the mainstream, CM Punk, along with John Cena and Daniel Bryan, sits on top of the food chain when it comes to the wrestling business. But for me, CM Punk is special, because CM Punk is the reason that I love professional wrestling. Back in the late 2000s, Punk was a diamond in the rough, a crowd favorite, but still the WWE wouldn't give Punk the keys to the town. And even when Punk held the World Heavyweight Championship, still the WWE didn't allow Punk to fulfill his potential.
Well, you're going to become WWE champion, but really not really.
The world title on Punk at that time was like, nah, that's cool.
I have this title. You're the champion. You're quasi-invisible.
I'm the guy that has the title in the middle of the card.
What else is going on?
We're just giving you this to hold for a little bit and then taking it away. We're going to give this to you, and you're not really going to be the guy.
You know, to be told day of, you're not on the pay-per-view. The Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels program needs the title. Oh, we're going to do this thing, Randy's going to kick you in the head.
And that had to be really tough on him.
As a result of what happened moments ago, CM Punk may not be able to compete.
It's just one of those deflating things, disappointing. It just sucked.
Punk's feuds, however, were insanely fun, like Punk's feud with Jeff Hardy and Punk's feud with Rey Mysterio, the feud that led to the birth of the Straight Edge Society, and Serena Deeb having her haircut live in the ring, and the transition of Luke Gallows from the character Festus into something more believable. CM Punk was the catalyst for great professional wrestling moments, and I was a fan, but this wasn't what sold me on his greatness. Fast forward to 2 years later, and CM Punk was shoehorned into a position of being the leader of the Nexus, a faction that had debuted a year earlier composed of developmental talent, the NXT Rookies. CM Punk had been tasked with becoming the leader of a faction, which had split to different factions, the Core and the New Nexus. At this point, CM Punk was on his last legs with the WWE.
I was the most pissed off guy on the planet. Straight Edge Society just fell apart and unraveled and fizzled. So many straws that broke the proverbial camel's back. Where I was done. That was the last straw.
Because at the end of the day, the person that runs this place will make their decision.
I gave them chicken salad, and I watched them turn it into chicken. There wasn't a better bad guy in the business than me. Miz being in the main event of WrestleMania. And it was just another time I got passed over. It was a monumental slap in the face.
And he told me, he said, you know, I really don't want to leave here.
They were trying to get me to sign a contract probably 2 years out.
And I was pretty sure he was gone. You know, I remember him saying, I wish I didn't care.
Probably about a year out, I said, I'm not interested.
He wants to be the guy who everybody looks to. He wants to be the guy who's the leader.
Fed up is an understatement. I was tired, I was sick, I was mad.
It's not about the money for him.
Punk had become jaded with the wrestling industry, especially with the WWE, and after losing to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 27 and the following pay-per-view Extreme Rules, Punk was scheduled to feud with the company's top wrestler John Cena, presumably to lose once again. And Punk, who had become jaded with the WWE, had nothing left to lose, and Punk cut a promo of his life, the infamous pipe bomb.
John Cena, while you lay there, hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be.
Look out here! And look at Trope! Trope puts Cena through a table!
A lot of things I want to get off my chest. Before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I hate this idea that you're the best, because you're not. I'm the best in the world. There's one thing you're better at than I am, and that's kissing Vince McMahon's ass. You're as good as kissing Vince's ass as Hulk Hogan was.
Well, I tell you, Mr. McMahon, the future of Hulkamania is so exciting, I really don't know how to express myself.
I don't know if you're as good as Dwayne, though. He's a pretty good ass kisser. I'm breaking the fourth wall. I've been the best ever since day one When I walked into this company, I am the best wrestler in the world. That's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. You know who else was a Paul Heyman guy? Brock Lesnar. And he split, just like I'm splitting, but the biggest difference...
Oh my God.
I'm going to leave with the WWE Championship. I've grabbed so many of Vincent K. McMahon's imaginary brass rings. They're just that. They're completely imaginary.
Who has enough ruthless aggression to reach for the stars as you never have before?
This is a different group of guys. I just don't think they necessarily want to reach for that brass ring. Millennials.
Day in and day out, I have proved to everybody in the world that I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even at commentary. Nobody can touch me. I'm not on your lovely little collector cups. I don't get to be in movies. I'm certainly not on any crappy show on the USA Network. I'm not on the poster of WrestleMania. I'm not in the signature that's produced at the start of the show. I'm not on Conan O'Brien. I'm not on Jimmy Fallon. But the fact that Dwayne is in the main event of WrestleMania next year and I'm not makes me sick. I'm leaving with the WWE Championship on July 17th. Maybe I'll go defend it in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Maybe I'll go back to Ring of Honor. Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing? But Vince McMahon's gonna make money to spite himself because after I'm gone, you're still gonna pour money into this company. I'm just a spoke on the wheel. But Vince McMahon's gonna make money to spite himself. He's a millionaire who should be a billionaire. You know why he's not a billionaire? He surrounds himself douchebag yes men like John Laurinaitis, who's gonna tell him everything that he wants to hear. You're gonna take your balls out of your purse right now. We're gonna lay our cards on the table. You had the look, but oh boy, did you ever suck. That maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead, but it's gonna get taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon.
You know, I look back on that one, Katie Vick, I liked it.
Do we do this whole bully camp?
This is such good.
This was the moment that my fandom was born. This promo, this look at the behind the scenes of the WWE, the mentioning of Ring of Honor, the mentioning of Colt Cabana, this was all new and fresh and I wanted more. And by July 17th, 2011 at Money in the Bank, the first pay-per-view I ever purchased, in the main event, CM Punk makes his entrance to the sound of Killswitch Engage's This Fire Burns, which I actually prefer to Cult of Personality, but that's a topic for another day. The Chicago fans embrace Punk as one of their own because he really is. This magic moment leads to an even greater wrestling match, and by the end of that match, even Johnny Ace attempts to interfere, but Punk captures the title and leaves blowing a kiss to the champion. And this was the greatest moment in professional wrestling that I had witnessed. This is how CM Punk made me a die-hard wrestling fan, giving me an itch that I would desperately attempt to scratch for the next several years. After Money in the Bank, Punk went on to have a career-defining 2 years, feuding with the company's top heels like Alberto Del Rio, the returning Kevin Nash,
OMG, Kevin Nash, WTF, thought he was dead, LOL.
Millennials.
and John Cena. Punk carried the title for 434 days, becoming the voice of the voiceless and echoing the fan sentiment about the declining quality the WWE was experiencing. But sadly, the WWE would never give Punk the spot he deserved. CM Punk's career goal in the WWE was to be in the main event match of WrestleMania, and Vince McMahon dangled that carrot over the head of CM Punk, but would never actually deliver. By 2013, Punk had lost to The Rock twice, Punk had lost to The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and Punk lost to Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam.
Life sucks, and then you die!
Basically, the WWE was using Punk to put over part-time wrestlers from the Attitude Era. Punk was once again jaded and injured, and CM Punk finally had enough on the January 26, 2014 edition of the Royal Rumble, and this Rumble match would be Punk's last match for the WWE. CM Punk would leave the WWE riding into the sunset, never to return again.
I'm the game, Triple H, and I would like to
personally ask you to press that like button. Thanks. After leaving the WWE, Punk got married to his then girlfriend AJ Lee, whom he had met while working for the WWE, and apparently the WWE, as petty as they are, even sent Punk their notice of dismissal on the very same day that Punk was to marry the love of his life. And this wasn't the end of the litigious divorce between WWE and CM Punk, because Punk had been having several medical issues during his last months with the WWE, and allegedly CM Punk and WWE doctor Chris Amon had some disagreements, and these disagreements were voiced in a podcast with his then friend Colt Cabana, The Art of Wrestling. Chris Amon, the WWE doctor, then sued both CM Punk and Colt Cabana for slander. This lawsuit and its trial took its toll on CM Punk and on his friendship with Colt Cabana, because after Punk and Cabana won the slander case against the WWE doctor, Punk and Cabana's relationship would end, stemming from the huge financial cost the Chris Amon trial levied against them, especially for Colt Cabana, who hadn't the financial security that CM Punk enjoyed. CM Punk also went on to pursue his love of MMA. Now 36 years old, way past his physical prime to begin competition in the octagon, but determined to do it anyway, Punk would sign with UFC and Punk would lose both his fights, first against Mickey Gall and the second one against Mike Jackson. And Punk is also pursuing a career in acting, appearing in movies like 2019's Rabid and Girl on the Third Floor and the upcoming Jacob's Wife, and Punk is currently an announcer for Cage Fury Fighting Championship. The story of CM Punk's debut for AEW begins with the birth of All Elite Wrestling itself, a company born out of Tony Khan's desire to make compelling professional wrestling and to give the fans a wrestling product alternative to everything that was already in place at the time. Tony Khan took advantage of the unique situation unfolding in the independent scene and the collection of actual wrestling draws like the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes, and the popularity of their group in New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Bullet Club. These four individuals gambled on themselves and created a revolutionary pay-per-view event, All In, and Tony Khan capitalized on the success of the All In pay-per-view, and a new wrestling organization was born in the form of AEW, All Elite Wrestling.
Thank you guys, all of you, 10,000 asses and 10,000 No man!
This is a different group of guys and gals.
No company!
You know, they're not as ambitious.
No entity!
Just don't think they necessarily want to reach for that brass ring.
Own pro wrestling!
It's millennials.
We own pro wrestling!
It's millennials.
Own pro wrestling!
Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, always wanted to have CM Punk in AEW, but for almost 2 years, CM Punk was the elusive talent that would always be inconspicuous by his absence. And since AEW's inception, CM Punk's arrival to AEW has been foretold, to the point that CM Punk to AEW confirmed even became a meme.
CM Punk return confirmed! CM Punk return confirmed! CM Punk to AEW confirmed! CM Punk return confirmed! Yeah!
The fans clearly wanted Punk back, and after Punk left the WWE, every single time something stupid would air on the WWE's airwaves, the fans would chant his name.
For a lack of...
Well, you people certainly are predictable.
And by 2019, Punk's wrestling bug started to bite once again, along with the birth of this new alternative, AEW. In April of 2019, Punk appeared under a mask on an independent event, MKE Wrestling, to give his finishing move, the GTS, to his Friends Steel opponent, and help Steel win the match. Punk would then get even closer to wrestling by appearing on WWE Backstage, a wrestling after show for the WWE airing on FS1, detailing the events of WWE storylines, with Punk commentating on the happenings of the WWE, carefully treading the waters, attempting not to be crass towards the WWE.
You're a bad guy and you do bad things to people.
You're a bad
I watched
guy.
you covered Roman in dog food.
1,000% real dog food. He's the big dog. I thought he was hungry.
The big dog. Real mature.
And after the pandemic starts to fade away, Tony Khan and CM Punk behind the scenes start their discussions about Punk joining AEW. And by April of 2021, Punk was again closer to wrestling, and Punk was scheduled to appear in a new show revolving around wrestling named Heels, starring Stephen Amell. Punk would star in Heels as the Trope wrestler Rick Ravis, a step even closer than his stint with the recap show WWE Backstage a year before with Renee Young. It was also in April that Punk gave an interview to Sports Illustrated where Punk said, "I don't need the money, and the way the wrestling business is now, it's wacky. You've got WWE who has multiple billion-dollar television deals and the television is awful. I go back there, it'd just be another guy that's doing not so good television. I want my name attached to quality projects, where it's fun and makes people laugh, smile, think, and people don't hate watching it. I want to do more fun stuff." CM Punk clearly talks about not wanting to join the WWE, but as we know, this could have well been a red herring. And in the world of professional wrestling, you never say never. 2 months later, in June, Punk was asked on Twitter why people still watch the WWE, and Punk would say the following: "It's like a movie with a blockbuster budget and cast, but it's written by creatively bankrupt nincompoops specifically for an audience of one, in a language nobody understands anymore. It's trash, but people watch it because they like movies." And this wasn't the only negative thing Punk had to say about the WWE. When Punk was asked about Chris Jericho's appearance on Steve Austin's Broken Skull Sessions, Punk said, "Nobody gets any royalties for anything shown on Peacock. Nobody. Yay, wrestling business." CM Punk voiced his concerns about Vince McMahon's management style regarding his wrestlers and the amounts paid to wrestlers being unfair. Voicing his displeasure with Vince McMahon and the WWE certainly gives the impression of CM Punk's unwillingness to join the WWE, but we were never 100% sure that would happen. If you like what you see, make Stone Cold Steve Austin smile by pressing that like button. Thanks. So how do you pull off a surprise debut while making sure the people are watching to pull off huge ratings? And this was important because months before, at the time of Sting's debut for AEW, reportedly TNT was upset because AEW hit the debut and surprised the fans, at the expense of a ratings boost. So this time, things would have to be handled differently. What would happen next would be a masterclass in booking that will be talked about over the years to come as the way to make the rating spike and the way to make a debut feel surprising while fully delivering on the fans' anticipation. The very first reliable hint the internet wrestling community would get of Punk's imminent arrival was on July 21, 2021, courtesy of Fightful, an organization known for their reliable information and an organization that, to my knowledge, is always careful about what they choose to publish on their platform. After the Fightful article, the wheels were in motion and the buzz increased to unprecedented levels. The last time something huge like this happened was in 2016, back when AJ Styles, Gallows and Anderson along with Shinsuke Nakamura left New Japan Pro Wrestling for the WWE. But CM Punk to AEW felt even bigger, because this wasn't the normal progression of wrestlers joining the WWE. This would be Scott Hall and Kevin Nash joining the WCW of our generation. The teases and rumors continued for days after the Fightful article, with the news that CM Punk had begun following AEW and Living Colour, the band that provided his trademark theme song in the WWE. And on the following AEW broadcast, Dynamite, on the July 28, 2021 episode, Nick Jackson hits a running knee in the corner followed by a bulldog, which was a signature move used by Punk in the majority of his matches. And moments later, Tony Schiavone announces that the new AEW show, Rampage, will be coming to Chicago on the August 20th at the United Center, an event dubbed The First Dance. Side note, this is a reference to the Last Dance documentary about the Chicago Bulls' last winning championship run and Michael Jordan's swan song with the Chicago Bulls. And in an interview for the New York Post, Tony is asked point blank what would mean for a company other than the WWE to add Daniel Bryan and CM Punk to their roster. I can't comment on these two guys, but I think there are certainly a lot of exciting rumors right now. Also, on the 28th of July episode of Dynamite, after Chris Jericho defeated Nick Gage, MJF grabbed the microphone and said,
As you sit there in more pain than you've ever been in your entire life.
This is a reference to CM Punk's words towards John Cena ahead of his famous pipe bomb.
John Cena, while you lay there, hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be.
And most important of all, Darby Allin, flanked by Sting, gave an interview to Alex Marvez.
You know, I've been around a lot of men, laid claim to how they're the greatest. And there's only one place to really prove that, right here in AEW. Even if you think you are the best in the world.
I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.
Foreshadowing the eventual match that both men would be scheduled to compete later on the September 5th All Out event. On August 1st, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin and Ty Conti are in a Comic-Con convention and a little kid asks,
What's the deal with CM Punk?
Why? Is he going somewhere? You can't believe everything you read online, dude.
Yup.
Come on.
On the August 4th edition of Dynamite, the hidden clues would continue as Kenny Omega, the AEW champion, appears wearing a Cookie Monster shirt, both backstage and in the ring. This is also a reference to CM Punk, specifically the initial CM. In wrestling lore, Cookie Monster was one of the random answers Punk would have whenever asked about the true meaning behind the CM initials. Other answers would include Charles Manson, Chicago Made, and Chuck Mosley, the former frontman of the band Faith No More. The CM in CM Punk was ultimately revealed in the most unusual way by CM Punk in the most surreal way possible, under oath in the court of law. In the Chris Amon CM Punk trial, CM Punk, real name Phil Brooks, revealed that the CM in CM Punk stands for Chic Magnet, a name derived from Punk's early days in the tag team Chic Magnets with partner CM Venom. A week later, on the 11th of August episode of Dynamite, again the references would be plenty. Malachi Black in his cryptic promo on Cody Rhodes says,
I want to make you feel so desolate and alone that the only things that you have left to talk to, now you've realized that you've been arguing with God.
You can't leave a mark on the champ's face. And I'm in the big leagues, and I'm swinging for the fence. When you step in the ring, your arms are just too short to box with God.
And moments later, in a segment between QT Marshall and Tony Schiavone, QT is scheduled to apologize for his behavior towards Tony Schiavone. But Swerve City, the tables are turned, and QT Marshall echoes much of the same words uttered by Punk at Vince McMahon years earlier.
Apologize! You will apologize to me for them!
2 days later, in an interview with TV Insider, CM Punk throws fuel in the fire, foreshadowing his AEW arrival by saying, I do think the landscape of professional wrestling in general really needs a kick in the dick. I think we are about there. I think there are a lot of people out there stirring the pot and causing trouble in a good way. When it's done on a high level and it's really good, there is nothing better. Later that night, on the SmackDown broadcast, even John Cena, arguably CM Punk's greatest nemesis, would also drop some hints, live on the competition's airwaves. Ahead of Cena's match with the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, John Cena references his iconic match with CM Punk.
And you're the biggest failure in WWE history.
I'm just gonna hang in there.
All I need is 1, 2, 3.
And then I'm gonna take your title. I'm gonna jump the barricade. I may even blow you a kiss goodbye. I may even blow you a kiss goodbye.
And John Cena also posts a picture on his Instagram, again referencing the very same moment in their iconic match 10 years prior at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. It is unknown as to why Cena posted this picture or why did he reference CM Punk at all. I highly doubt that Cena is in cahoots with Tony Khan, but in wrestling everything is possible, and CM Punk would answer Cena's post with a picture of the one who should not be spoken of, Voldemort. NFL Network's Adam Rank, while doing highlights of the August 14th Chicago-Miami preseason game, hyped the debut of the Bears' first-round quarterback, Justin Fields.
He's so elusive in the pocket, DC. That's one of the things we loved about him.
Yeah, I think that was the most anticipated debut in Chicago until Friday, when presumably CM Punk could show up on AEW.
On August 15th, on his Instagram, CM Punk nods Darby Allin with a post depicting one of the DVDs from Ring of Honor, and Darby Allin's same tattoo, followed by a cryptic post with the numbers 5/11/21 the day after, the meaning of which presumably means the most important years in Punk's career: 2005 working for Ring of Honor, 2011 for the WWE, both of these referred as the summer of Punk, and 2021 for his supposed arrival at All Elite Wrestling. Punk would even throw some hints at his day job as the commentator for CFFC.
Returning to his wrestling. You know what I'm saying, Punk? Returning to his wrestling.
Yeah, he's looking all elite right now.
On the following Dynamite broadcast, August 18th, Omega appearing to attack Marco Stunt of the Jurassic Express in the middle of their match with the Young Bucks, is wearing a black shirt with the word Chic Magnet, and this, as mentioned earlier, is a reference to CM Punk's days as the Chic Magnet Punk. At this point, the anticipation reaches a fever pitch, and we are 2 days away from either the greatest moment in the history of our sport or a monumental letdown. And who better to talk about letdowns than the Universal Champion Roman Reigns, who in an interview with Ariel Helwani sold for CM Punk like he was just hit with the GTS.
When it comes down to it, CM Punk was not as good or as over as a John Cena. I'm a full-time performer.
The big dog!
Real mature.
And we are finally here, August 20th, the day CM Punk made his debut for All Elite Wrestling. The day would start with a picture from the Dark Knight Returns comic, then a picture of himself in street clothes in a random airport, and also a meme of Matthew McConaughey from the True Detective TV show. Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, was also at work trying to both reassure the fans while not really confirming Punk's arrival. Appearing on Busted Open Radio, Tony Khan would say,
the biggest surprise we've ever delivered. I think it's a very important show we're doing tonight, and I'm very excited about the buzz and all the momentum the company has right now.
The pop CM Punk received from the Chicago crowd was so loud that even the Guinness World of Records Twitter commented on the pop he received.
You guys really know how to make a kid feel like Britt Baker in Pittsburgh. Feel you, Chicago. That's what I've heard for 7 years. I heard you.
For a lack of
the people go insane at the mere sight of a man sitting down, and as Conrad Thompson puts it, when sitting down gets you a pop, you know you're over.
August 13th, 2005 was my last match in Ring of Honor, and I famously came out with tears in my eyes. I now know why I was crying. What it boiled down to was love professional wrestling. And I knew where I was going. It wasn't going to be easy for a guy like me. August 13th, 2005, I left professional wrestling. August 20th, 2021, I'm back. Because there's a couple of scores to settle in that locker room. Because I want to work with that young talent, Darby Allin. You're good. There is nothing you could do that is more dangerous than wrestling CM Punk. I will see you, and I'll see Sting September 5th at All Out.
Man, the chills are running up down my spine.
Number one thing being, I want you to bring back the WWE ice cream bars. Grab yourself a free ice cream bar on me.
This is about to pick up.
Yes, sir.
What a pay-per-view this is going to be.
I'm fixing to take a bite. Oh, it felt a little bit, but it's great.
It is unknown what the future holds for CM Punk and All Elite Wrestling. Personally, I would like to see a feud between Colt Cabana and CM Punk, playing off their real-life animosity and their real lawsuit between the two former friends. A CM Punk feud with Sting, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley would also be something to behold. Truly, the possibilities are endless. Thank you for watching this trip down memory lane. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments and feel free to press that like button. And also subscribe for more future content just like this, or better. This has been fun, thank you for watching.